Chapter 291. Alex had the suspicion that Daniel treated his other two Pokemon preferentially, and that is the reason why Butterfree levels slowly. Though he hoped that wasn't the case. When a trainer gives certain Pokemon preferential treatment, it can cause many obstacles that are not easy to eliminate. Alex treats each of his Pokemon equally, even if he never says it directly. Even when he's a bit tougher on Crobat or Scizor, Alex never really treated them differently than the other Pokemon. Crobat, or a Pokemon that was just born, needs different treatments, and Alex personally doesn't have a Pokemon in his family that he likes more than the others. The character of each Pokemon is different and needs different approaches, but that doesn't mean that not all Pokemon can be treated equally well. Alex treats his Pokemon completely in the same way when it comes to item distribution and training. If Alex had enough money, he would buy so many items until all of his Pokemon got on the SS rank, but even with his great wealth it wasn't nearly sufficient to do that. He had to make decisions on which of his Pokemon would most effectively benefit from the item's money. Yet, he doesn't always buy items for his Pokemon according to this method. Ditto or even Crobat, Scizor, and Gardevoir all have a bad-born potential that makes it not worthwhile to further improve their potential if one judges this thing objectively. But Alex ignored that and continued to buy items for the 4 Pokemon, and even looked for ways to collect enough money to buy items for Crobat, Scizor, and Gardevoir that could bring their potential to the shallow diamond rank. He was just trying to find a middle ground and to get the Pokemon on the SS rank that needed less investment, but he didn't stop collecting money for the other 4 Pokemon. Alex would even give Ditto an item from a full-blood Pokemon if he had it, even if it is more effective to give this item to other Pokemon. He picked up his TRH device and he sent a message to Daniel to call him. Daniel answered quickly and called Alex directly. Daniel's serious voice could be heard from the TRH device in Alex's hand. "Boss, what can I do for you?" Alex said in a relaxed voice. "I just got a list from the Vice with the level and potential of your Pokemon, and I noticed something interesting." Daniel said nothing and patiently waited for Alex to continue. Alex's voice stayed relaxed as he said, "Your Butterfree has a potential of the S rank and shouldn't have a problem leveling as fast as your S rank Beedrill." His voice was starting to get a little more serious. "But it seems that that's not the case. Can you explain to me why that is the case?" Daniel said in an indifferent voice, "Sir, I understand your concern, but I think you misunderstood something." "Oh, I like that answer. It seems like my guess was wrong. No, it's normal that you think I probably prefer my other 2 Pokemon because of my past, but I can promise you that it has nothing to do with it." Alex then said with a slightly curious voice, "Daniel, your answer calms my worries, but you make me curious about the reason why your Butterfree is leveling so slowly. Can you tell me the reason?" Daniel continued to say in his neutral tone, "Butterfree have given birth to several children." Alex didn't say anything for a few seconds. After a few seconds, he said in a serious tone, "It looks like I don't have to worry, but I would recommend that you don't allow your Pokemon to have lots of children right away. It's still time for it later. It is just a recommendation and you have to decide for yourself." Quote, Daniel said in a slightly softer voice, "I already thought about the consequences after I made this decision. But I already explained to my family that no more children can be made after the first time. At least for now." Alex knew that Pokemon interest in sex is not higher comparable to humans. Pokemon showed more interest in creating children than in the act itself. Alex even read how a professor in this world had developed a pill that would allow most Pokemon species not to get pregnant for a few days after taking it. Compared to the human beings who had several major changes in the world after the birth control pill, the same was not seen for the Pokemon in this world. Almost all Pokemon species had no interest in the act without creating children, so that this pill was in the end quasi-useless in the eyes of most Pokemon. Alex stopped thinking about these things and he said, "I have selected a few missions for you that have a rewarding reward and are feasible to fulfill with your strengths. I give you free choice and you can choose which missions you want to take on, or if you do even want to accept a mission." Quote, Daniel didn't show much interest, but after Alex gave detailed information about a couple of missions, Alex noticed that Daniel seemed interested. Alex had only selected the best missions from Giovanni for Daniel and Elise, so that each mission is extremely worthwhile. At least for normal elite trainers who do not have that many ways to earn money so quickly. Alex hadn't kept a mission for Maria because she was now training the 10A rank Pokemon together with her other Pokemon and had no time for other things. Apart from that, the reward from Alex's mission is many times better than even these ridiculously worthwhile missions from Giovanni. But it wasn't that Alex didn't want to do a mission himself. Alex has exactly 2 missions for himself that are very rewarding and perfectly matched for him personally. Chapter 292. Alex started looking at the 2 missions he had chosen for himself. Mission objective. Find up to 100 A-rank Pokemon under level 20. The A-rank Pokemon must be all one of the 5 Pokemon species Rattata, Spearow, Zubat, Coughing, Ekans, and must not surpass level 19. After accepting the mission, a smaller number of A-rank Pokemon cannot be accepted as a number than 10 Pokemon that meet the requirements or the failure condition is valid. The delivery of the mission objective must be in. Mission duration. After accepting the task must be completed within 30 days or a fine must be given for not completing the task. Pokemon that don't meet the mission objective. Failure. An amount of 10,000 TR points must be referred to the mission center within 3 days if the mission is not fulfilled within the deadline. Incorrect information about the level, talent and species will reward 1 million TR points for completing the mission objective. In addition, 150,000 TR points per A-rank Pokemon are added as a bonus and transferred within 1 day. Mission objective. Investigate the reason for the sudden appearance of several elite Pokemon in Vermilion Forest and the reason why it is happening. Resolving the problem will also be considered an optional mission and will have a separate reward. According to reports, there are several ekans Arbic groups that have been seen often by victims who have trained in this forest. See the report attached. Mission duration. After accepting the task must be completed within 30 days or a fine must be given for not completing the task. The information has to be failure. An amount of 50,000 TR points must be transferred to the mission center within 3 days if the mission is not fulfilled within the deadline. Incorrect information about the reason. Reward. 1 million TR points which are transferred within 1 day. In addition, 2 million TR points will be given as a reward for completing the optional mission. Vermilion Forest. Alex chose these 2 missions because they have very rewarding rewards and can be completed at the same time if Alex does the right thing. A large group of Arboks on the elite rank is an indication that there shouldn't be a small number of A-rank ekans in that group. The chance to find many A-rank ekans in this group is not small. Especially with such a large number of elite Pokemon, the potential of children of this group ekans should not have a bad potential. Together with the fact that Alex can see the potential of all Pokemon at a glance, making this mission extremely easy for him. Even without the second mission, Alex should have no problem finding at least 10 A-rank Pokemon with these species and levels that are wanted. Although even Alex himself can't collect as large a number as 100 A-rank Pokemon in such a short time. If the mission requirements are only 100 A-rank of whatever species and Pokemon below the elite level, that would be something else, but exactly because of the difficult requirements of the mission, it is very difficult for Alex to collect so many Pokemon. Only looking for 5 specific Pokemon species that are below level 20 makes it very difficult for Alex to find them in the black market that has all possible species and levels of Pokemon. The only reason why he was able to buy so many A-rank Pokemon with the same species in the rookie test is because Team Rocket had helped him, and that was only possible with the help of Lisa and because he was an instructor for the rookie test, so that he knew that he could not buy as many A-rank Pokemon from Team Rocket again. Alex is even sure that selling such a large number of A-rank Pokemon has to be approved by Giovanni anyway, so that he doesn't even try to exploit this mission by trying to buy the 100 A-rank Pokemon from Team Rocket just to get them right away turn in to get the rewards from the mission. Maybe Giovanni left that extra as a loophole, and that's a test that rewards the discovery of something like that. Shouldn't be impossible. It's not a shame to try. Single quote. Alex pulled out his TRH device and sent Lisa a message. 20 seconds later Alex got a call from Lisa which he immediately answered. Good afternoon, Executive Lisa. Lisa's playful voice could be heard from the other side. Hello to you too, Tilda. Why do you suddenly want to talk to me? Do you miss me, Tilda? Alex said in a slightly indifferent tone. Of course, but I'm calling today because of some other business. You are so cold, Tilda, you almost break my heart, Lisa said as her trademark tone didn't change. Alex rubbed his forehead lightly when he heard this playful tone from Lisa. He couldn't get used to the fact that Lisa had such a playful way and liked to do small talk. Alex prefers it when things are clarified directly and not unnecessarily prolonged. Executive Lisa, how do you like the subordinates I've given you? Oh, really good. Especially Jasper is such a cute and talented young man. He has a lot of talents, and Lisa said with a happy voice when she kept talking. Alex suddenly felt Lisa was starting to develop a harem when he heard her voice talking about Jasper. He wasn't entirely sure, but from her voice, it didn't sound like it was going to be a purely boss-subordinate relationship. Executive Lisa, now that you have received such good submissions from me, you shouldn't have a problem helping me with one thing, right? Lisa agreed, suddenly became less warm when she said, it depends. First, tell me what you need help with. I need 100 A-rank Pokemon under level 20 that have the same species as last time. Lisa started to laugh slightly, but when Alex thought he was going to be rejected, she said slightly, yeah, I can help you. Alex looked surprised when he heard this direct approval. He hadn't thought that it would work so smoothly. What is the price and when can I expect these Pokemon to be ready to buy? Though surprised, he continued to speak in a calm tone. Lisa started to laugh slightly when she said, hee, you can pick up the 100 A-rank Pokemon tomorrow if you give me 150,001 TR points per Pokemon. Alex heard Lisa's laugh and his eyes started to get cold. He wasn't so stupid as to understand why the price is exactly 150,001 TR points. He said in a cold voice, if you don't want to help me, say that directly. I don't have time for your nonsense. Lisa stopped laughing and said, Alex darling Tilda, I can't do anything about that. I only implement the orders I got. What are you talking about? Lisa said with a slightly happy voice, our boss gave me the command to give you this exact price for the Pokemon as an answer when you asked me about A-rank Pokemon. Alex heard that it was an order from Giovanni and suddenly became speechless. Chapter 293. After a few more polite words, Alex ended the conversation with Lisa without further talking about these A-rank Pokemon. Alex could buy 10 A-rank Pokemon and make a profit of 999,990 TR points, but he didn't want to waste this mission for this small amount. He felt it makes a lot more sense to look for these A-rank Pokemon himself as to buy the overpriced A-rank Pokemon from Team Rocket. Alex looked for information from Vermilion Forest and checked how feasible and dangerous this mission would be for him and his Pokemon. If this area had too many unknown dangers like the Royal Forest, Alex would rather not accept this mission. After Alex bought the specific information from the Team Rocket shop for a small sum, and after he read it he realized that this area is nothing special. If not more and more elite Pokemon suddenly appeared in this forest in the last month, this forest would not be a special place for Alex. Alex accepted the task on both missions and immediately started making his way to Vermilion City with his Pokemon. Unfortunately, Alex has to accept the mission within 1 week or it will not be possible to accept the missions later on. Alex understood why Giovanni had added this rule, even if he is a bit annoying that he cannot bypass the failure conditions of all missions. He can at most delay it a little bit. He filled in that Giovanni had thought of almost all loopholes and had built-in rules to prevent them. 2 hours later Alex and Gardevoir teleported to Vermilion City. Vermilion Forest is on the east of Vermilion City and Alex's knowledge of his old world was not useful in this area because in the games this forest was not accessible for the players even if they can see on the map that there is a forest there. Alex had to rely on the information and the map of Vermilion Forest that he had bought from Team Rocket shop. Although this map is not completely up to date anymore because the forest has changed a lot in the last month, it is not completely useless to find certain Pokemon species groups in this forest. Ekans Arbic species groups have always existed in this forest and only the number and strength have increased so that Alex can easily find these large groups with this map or at least where most of these Pokemon are in this forest. 30 minutes later Alex was in front of a large forest area with a rough footpath. That was one of the many exits to Vermilion Forest. Alex pulled out all of his Pokemon and let Dano go next to him while all the other Pokemon go ahead. Dano was only level 20 and although only weak Pokemon live on the edge of this forest, Alex didn't want to risk anything. Especially not after a lot of elite Pokemon suddenly appear in this forest. Alex's group quickly encountered the first Pokemon and Alex said that it could be an optimal first fight for Dano. Pokemon. Dano. LV. 20. Type. Dark Dragon. Ability. Hustle. Gender. Male. Potential. Deep Gold. Moves. Tackle. Dragon Rage. Focus Energy. Bite. Headbutt. Dragon Breath. Roar. Innate Talent Crunch E. Innate Talent Earth Power E. Innate Talent Draco Meteor E. TM Protect. Pokemon. Venonat. LV. 23. Attributes. Bug Poison. Abilities. Compound Eyes. Gender. Male. Potential. Bronze. Moves. Disable. Foresight. Tackle. Supersonic. Confusion E. Poison Powder. Psybeam. Stun Spore. Dash. Venonat saw Alex's group of Pokemon and wanted to run away, but Alex and Crobat managed to persuade this Venonat to fight Dano. Alex wasn't really guilty about forcing this Pokemon to fight Dano. He would heal it afterward anyway, and he felt that this Pokemon even got important combat experience without being afraid of taking permanent damage from it. It's almost a gift. He didn't think it was cruel. Alex didn't feel that he had changed his attitude towards strange Pokemon or humans. He's always been that kind of person, and he even felt that he had become a bit kind compared to the beginning. At least towards Pokemon. Alex stopped thinking about it and started giving Dano his first command. Dano use Crunch. Venonat also started preparing a move after a moment of hesitation. Dano finished and bit Venonat with his teeth that were full of dark-type energy. Venonat screams painfully and uses Confusion against Dano with a slightly angry expression. Dano, who is a dark-type Pokemon, is immune and suffered no harm from this attack. Dano, again. Venonat showed a confused expression and suddenly understood why this attack did not work. He didn't know that Dano was a dark-type Pokemon and so, as always, used his strongest move without thinking about it. Alex, who saw such a thing for the first time, showed an interesting expression. He knew that the instinct of a Pokemon often gives important information about many different things, but he always thought that the Pokemon species is one of the information that the instinct of a Pokemon always gives. Alex would like to know how Pokemon learn about other Pokemon species because he doesn't think that knowledge comes from seeing. Maybe Pokemon talk to each other and exchange information. But doesn't explain it completely. Alex was thinking about it when Dano started using his next move. Venonat was bitten by Dano again and his body began to bleed heavily while 2 large bite marks were visible. Alex was particularly noticeable how Dano always showed a satisfied expression after he had finished a bite. He hoped that Dano is happy that he is fighting so well and not that he can now bite Pokemon with all his bite force. Alex looked at Venonat's injuries and he said in a calm voice. Dano used Draco Meteor. Venonat finished his normal rank move a little later and started using the move Supersonic. Supersonic is a weird move that cannot be avoided but only works within a very small radius. Dano was hit and suddenly saw to Venonat. He showed a confused expression and started looking in the direction of Alex. Alex saw the strange expression and said with a calm expression, "You're trying to hit the right one of the two. You should notice when you watch closely which one of them is fake." Supersonic is on the normal rank and it's not nearly as difficult to see through as the move on the expert rank. Dano observed the 2 Venonat and noticed how only one of the two moved naturally. He used Draco Meteor and Dano created a very small meteor up in the air, similar in size to himself, which immediately fell on Venonat at a fast speed. Venonat was hit and fell unconscious to the ground. Chapter 294. Alex went to the unconscious Venonat and healed him with an potion after the fast fight was over. After healing Venonat's injuries, he went to Dano with a happy expression. Alex smiled slightly when he said, "You were great," and patted Dano's head. Dano showed a happy expression and let Alex stroke him without biting him, as he often did after he was born. He learned that his father doesn't like being bitten and stopped biting Alex after being reminded several times by his father. Alex waited until Venonat woke up and only then went deeper into the forest. After a few minutes, Alex's group heard from Crobat that in front of them there was a human with several Pokemon. Alex sometimes found trainers in the wilderness, but mostly he ignored them or even sometimes took a detour. As long as these trainers are not in a direct way, he usually did not take a detour to meet these trainers. He knew from experience that if you found a trainer in an area with mostly weak Pokemon, these trainers are almost always extremely weak and not worth meeting. But this trainer was in the direct way that Alex wanted to go, so that Alex has to go another way if he wants to bypass this trainer. In addition, a small ekans Arbok group is marked on the map that he had bought for Vermilion Forest, so that it makes no sense to go into a detour. After a few minutes, Alex's group came in front of a small cave that was surrounded by many Pokemon. In addition, Alex could see a man with a face mask and several Pokemon next to him that were almost 100 meters away from this cave entrance. When Alex looked in the direction of this man with the face covering and he saw how this man was also watching his group at the same time, Alex's expression became more serious when he saw the face mask of this man. He knew that when a trainer hid his face in the wildness that it often had two reasons. That he is famous and doesn't want to be annoyed by his fans, or he's a criminal who doesn't want to show his face when breaking laws. There may be other reasons, but these two should be the most likely. Alex looked at the info from the Pokemon next to the man. Pokemon. Pidgeot. LV. 48. Type. Normal, flying. Abilities. Keen Eye. Gender. Male. Potential. Silver. Moves. Tackle. Sand Attack. Gust. Mirror Move E. Quick Attack. Wing Attack. Roost E. Whirlwind. Agility E. Air Slash. Innate Talent. Fly M. TM Protect. TM Facade. TM Hyper Beam. TM Toxic. TM U-Turn. TM Steel Wing. TM Giga Impact. TM Substitute. Pokemon. Scolipede. LV. 46. Type. Bug Poison. Abilities. Speed Boost. Hidden Ability. Gender. Female. Potential. Shallow Silver. Moves. Defense Curl. Rollout. Poison Sting. Screech. Pursuit. Protect. Poison Tail. Bug Bite. Venoshock. Takedown. Agility E. Toxic E. Innate Talent. Pin Missile M. TM Protect. TM Swords Dance E. TM Rock Slide. TM Poison Jab. TM Facade. TM Substitute. TM Giga Impact. TM Payback. Pokemon. Poniard. LV. 39. Type. Dark Steel. Abilities. Defiant. Gender. Male. Potential. Gold. Move. Leer. Scratch. Fury Cutter. Torment. Faint Attack. Scary Face. Metal Claw. Slash. Assurance. Metal Sound. Innate Talent. Shadow Claw E. Innate Talent. Psycho Cut E. Innate Talent. Sucker Punch E. TM Protect. TM Swords Dance E. TM Taunt. TM Rock Tomb. TM Aerial Ace. TM Brick Break. TM Rock Polish. Pokemon. Victreebel. LV. 48. Type. Grass Poison. Abilities. Chlorophyll. Gender. Female. Potential. Shallow Gold Mutated. Moves. Vine Whip. Growth. Wrap. Acid. Sleep Powder E. Poison Powder. Stun Spore. Razor Leaf. Poison Jab. Innate Talent. Solar Beam M. Innate Talent. Mega Drain E. TM Protect. Alex, who saw the information of the 4 Pokemon, showed a surprised expression, and he knew immediately who this man was even if he hid his face. That was Adam that Alex had met several months ago in the Firewood Forest. What Alex first noticed when he saw the information from Adam's Pokemon is that Pidgeot and Scolipede only went up 2 levels after almost half a year. But Alex didn't think it was very slow. On the contrary, he thought that these 2 Pokemon leveled up very quickly considering the potential of these 2 Pokemon. Although these Pokemon don't have a bad potential, at the elite level an A-rank potential is simply not enough to be able to level quickly. In comparison, Ditto levels many times faster and will also overtake Pidgeot after a few months. Although Pidgeot and Scolipede couldn't make a big leap forward in terms of level, both Pokemon managed to train a move on the Master rank, which should increase their direct combat strength considerably. The Pokemon that has changed the most in Adam's team, compared to the last meeting, is Poniard, who is now at the elite level and has even improved his potential. Alex wasn't surprised because of what he saw from Adam's Pokemon, but because he saw that information from the Pokemon that had given him his first near-death experience. When he met this Victreebel for the first time, his system was not yet upgraded and he did not know the exact potential of this Pokemon, just that it's on the S rank. In addition, this mutated was not yet visible to him. Alex always knew that this Victreebel is very strange because it was the only Pokemon he had met that had exactly 2 innate talent moves and not 3 like every other Pokemon on the S rank. He also believed that this new sign, mutated, had something to do with it too, even if he's not quite sure what it meant. Alex had some suspicions, but because this system didn't give any further explanation he wasn't sure. Chapter 295. As Alex thought about these various things, he saw Adam suddenly start calling all Pokemon except Pidgeot back to their Pokeballs. Alex immediately understood what Adam was up to, but he just watched Adam get on the back of his Pokemon and did nothing to prevent that. Although he had considered taking Adam as one of his subordinates if he could get the Hoenn position, it is not something he will decide right away. He wants to know at least the background information of Adam and understand Adam's character better before considering such an option. Alex looked wordlessly as Adam flew away with his Pokemon and began to draw his attention to the large group of Pokemon in front of the cave. He immediately noticed that all these Pokémon are from the species ekans Arbok and have great differences in terms of level or potential. It took Alex a little before he could read all of the information about this 36 Pokémon group, but after looking at the information on each Pokémon he showed a bright expression. This large group of ekans Arbok had 2 Pokémon with an A-rank potential and even 1 Pokémon with an A-rank potential while it is below level 20. Pokémon. Arbok. LV. 35. Type. Poison. Ability. Intimidate. Gender. Male. Potential. Shallow Silver. Moves. Poison Sting. Wrap. Leer. Acid. Bite. Eat. Haze. Glare. Poison Jab. Stockpile. Spit Up. Swallow. Slam. Innate Talent Mega Drain E. Pokémon. Ekans. LV. 17. Type. Poison. Ability. Intimidate. Gender. Female. Potential. Shallow Silver. Moves. Poison Sting. Wrap. Leer. Acid. Bite. Haze. Glare. Poison Jab. Stockpile. Spit Up. Swallow. Slam. Innate Talent Scary Face. Alex felt very happy with such a lucky hit and he started to think about the best way to attack this large group of Pokémon. This large group of ekans Arbok only had 3 Pokémon that barely reached elite level, 40 and 42, and is not a real challenge for Alex's team. Alex looked in the direction of Gardevoir when he said, "Can you perceive a strong Pokémon in this cave or the surroundings?" Gardevoir told Alex exactly about the Pokémon and the number of them that she can perceive even if they were weak. She also told Alex that there is no Pokémon with great energy around, so that there is no elite level Pokémon around if you exclude these 3 elite Pokémon in front of the cave. Alex showed a smile after receiving this information from Gardevoir. Okay, Ditto will first transform into Crobat and then, together with Crobat, knock 2 Pokémon from this group unconscious with 1 hit and drag them to our group. I will show you precisely which 2 Pokémon you should attack and kidnap from this group, so I hope that you do not make a mistake. Quote. After a short pause, he looked at Ditto and Crobat while he said, Ditto will attack this ekans. Please be careful not to use a strong attack move against this weak ekans. Then he explained with the help of descriptions, the 3rd nearest ekans from the left, and, is currently sleeping on this strange-looking stone, to Ditto which ekans he meant. Alex preferred to explain it in far too much detail than Ditto accidentally kidnapped the wrong Pokémon. After Alex was sure that Ditto knew which ekans he was talking about, he started to look in the direction of Crobat. Crobat, your target is this Arbok. Then Alex started to describe the Pokémon exactly as with Ditto so the Crobat knew what Arbok Alex was talking about. Crobat looked at the Arbok that was his target and said with a disdainful expression, it's not even at the elite level. What a waste of my skills. Alex rolled his eyes as he said, would you prefer me to send you against a champion-level Pokémon? Crobat looked at Alex with a disdainful expression. Do you always have to have the last word? Alex suppressed himself to facepalm and started to ignore Crobat. Gardevoir, you will try to defeat all 3 elite Arbok with Dazzling Gleam after Crobat and Ditto got out of range. After seeing Gardevoir nod, Alex continued to say, the remaining will fight this group of Pokémon after Gardevoir's first move. Only Bastiodon and Dano stay here with me. After everyone got a task from Alex, all Pokémon started to show an expression that they understood what to do. Alex especially noticed how Vulpix had an excited expression that she was allowed to participate in such a group fight for the first time. Vulpix looked excitedly at her father's permission to take part in this fight. She looked at Bayonet who was next to her as always and noticed that he was not showing any particular expression. Vulpix shows a slight pout when she says to Bayonet with an unhappy expression, hey, why aren't you showing a happy expression? Bayonet showed a confused expression and looked at Vulpix as if to say that he didn't understand what he did wrong. Vulpix couldn't be angry long after seeing her brother's expression. She started to tell Bayonet the specifics of this event without noticing how Alex and the rest of the Pokémon watched the two with a smile. Alex looked at his Pokémon after Vulpix finished speaking and said with a smile, let's go then. Chapter 296. Ditto and Crobat, who suddenly attacked the 36 ekans Arbok Pokémon group and hijacked their respective targets after knocking them unconscious with a move, were pursued by the strongest Pokémon of the ekans Arbok Pokémon group. The rest of Alex's Pokémon received this group of ekans Arbok with 1 move each and secure a quick end to this fight. Alex only caught the 2A rank Pokémon and began to investigate the cave to look for clues why so many strong ekans Arbok suddenly appear in this area. But, when he and his Pokémon entered this relatively small cave, there was nothing except for Pokemon bones and a few carcasses of other Pokemon species. Alex, who searched the whole cave, couldn't find anything unusual, and when he wanted to leave the cave together with his Pokemon, he saw Crobat and Gardevoir change their faces. "What is wrong?" Crobat answered first. "A large group of flying Pokemon is starting to take the conscious Pokemon in front of the cave as prey. Their number is very large." Gardevoir added, "There is also a lot of strong energy involved, so that I estimate that there are at least 5 elite Pokemon in this group. It's difficult to say exactly because they move through each other so quickly." Alex said with a serious expression, "Are the strongest elite Pokemon stronger in terms of level than our group?" Gardevoir just shook her head when she said, "No, I didn't notice any energy that is bigger than the strongest Pokemon in our group." Alex, who heard, nodded and started to leave the cave with his Pokemon. After Alex and his Pokemon left the cave, they saw a very chaotic scene where many flying-type Pokemon fought for the prey, and where already some flying-type Pokemon started to eat their prey on the ground, which aroused the anger of the fighting group. Alex, who saw this scene, felt the flying-type Pokemon in the wildness only behave arrogantly or aggressively. He didn't know why these flying-type Pokemon behave like that in the wild, but he had a suspicion. The ability to escape against almost every other Pokemon species in a fight as long as the flying-type Pokemon is not defeated with a hit, rewarded such aggressive behavior more than of many other Pokemon species. Most other aggressive Pokemon in the wild must be very strong or have a method that ensures that other Pokemon don't want to fight them, like the poison of Arbok, to be able to maintain such aggressive behavior. Alex also knew that there are passive flying-type Pokemon in the wild, but so far he has almost only met very aggressive flying Pokemon. Even when he thought about his most dangerous moments as a trainer, he realized that there was almost always a ridiculously aggressive flying-type Pokemon involved. The more Alex thought about it, the worse his opinion about flying Pokemon was. Although Alex had a negative attitude towards these flying Pokemon, he did nothing to stop this fight. He didn't want to catch the rest of the Ekans Arbok Pokemon group anyway and thus wasted his time, so he doesn't want to change this situation. Alex knew that he was indirectly responsible for the deaths of many Ekans Arbok, but he didn't have a bad conscience about the deaths of these Pokemon. If certain Pokemon species eat other Pokemon to feed themselves, these Pokemon species should not be surprised to be eaten later. Apart from that, Alex knew how aggressive the Arbok species are towards other Pokemon. Although all Pokemon can survive from Pokemon berries, the Arbok species also like to eat other Pokemon often. Alex checked out the information on this large group of flying-type Pokemon and saw a pair of A-ranked Pokemon that can be sold for a good price. He looked at Crobat and asked him to bring these Pokemon to him. At the same time, he instructs his Pokemon to prepare a move in case the large group suddenly attacks Alex's team after they noticed that he was interfering. Alex thinks it's very unlikely because his group is so much stronger and this large number of flying-type Pokemon is made up of several separate small groups of flying-type Pokemon, but when he thinks back to how many times he was attacked by arrogant flying-type Pokemon, he suddenly felt that it is not entirely implausible that a few of these Pokemon would attack his group. Crobat began to take off quickly and began preparing a move at the same time as he was approaching his first target. He was able to quickly hit his target, Spearow, and grab it with his legs, but when he tried to fly back towards Alex's group he was followed by a couple of Fearow. Alex looked at the level and potential of the pursuers when he looked coldly at these Pokemon. Shallow Bronze Fearow at level 31. Bronze Fearow at level 27. Deep Bronze Fearow at level 30. Deep Bronze Fearow at level 36. Alex's expression got colder as he looked at the info. 4 Fearow with B rank potential and none above the elite level. Is that a joke? He said with an indifferent voice. Blaziken use Flamethrower. Blaziken, who had already prepared this move, used it immediately and hit 3 chasing Fearows. The 3 Fearows were hit and fell on the ground burning as they screamed painfully. After a few painful screams, the 3 Pokemon passed out, even though their whole bodies continued to burn. The last of the 3 Fearow saw how his group members took a very painful hit and how their unconscious bodies continued to burn on the ground. Not only did it look terrifying, but it also had a disgusting smell of burnt flesh. Not only did the last of the 3 Fearow Crobats stop chasing and start to run, but several other flying-type Pokemon, who saw this, started running away. Alex looked at Blaziken's face to see how she would react emotionally to it, but after seeing a proud smile, he realized that he was worrying for nothing. He started to look at Gardevoir and saw that she doesn't show a special face even when she observed these cruel deaths from these 3 Pokemon. Alex knew, however, that Gardevoir was very reluctant to kill other living beings, even if they were the aggressors. He believed that as long as Gardevoir does not encounter a situation that endangers the life of him or his other Pokémon, she will not do such an act. But Alex did not plan to force her to do something like that anyway. Chapter 297. Alex caught several unconscious Pokémon that Crobat and Ditto had returned to him with a happy expression. In this group of caught Pokémon, there were several A-rank Pokémon under the elite rank and even a Spearow under level 20 and with an A-rank potential. Although the other A-rank Pokémon are from different species or are of a higher level, they could still be sold for a good price. This direct finding of several A-rank Pokémon on the same day is very rare, and Alex suddenly felt that he was lucky today. Alex already knew the information about the Pokémon before, but after capturing these Pokémon personally he couldn't help but show a happy expression. The many different groups from this large number of flying-type Pokémon started flying away after suffering multiple attacks from Alex's group. Although there was a group that attacked Alex's group, despite the great difference in strength. Alex's Pokémon quickly defeated this arrogant group, which then causes almost all flying-type Pokémon to fly away through this renewed show of strength. Although there were still a few Pokémon that stayed behind, each of these Pokémon keeps a long distance from Alex and his Pokémon. Alex, who didn't need anything in this place, opened the map and went to the next marked area where Arbok and Ekans groups should be. Even though there are Pokémon that leave their territory, this is rarely the case with strong Pokémon or strong Pokémon groups, so it is very likely that this large group of Arboks and Ekans have not moved. After a few moments, Alex and his group went deeper into the forest while fighting other Pokémon regularly. Each of these Pokémon was very weak compared to Alex's group, and only a few Pokémon dared to attack Alex's group. Although each of these Pokémon did not have a good potential, it was, in Alex's opinion, a good opportunity to let Dano gain more combat experience. He even let Dano fight himself once without helping him to see how Dano fights by himself. But when he saw how Dano only using the move Crunch and that he didn't want to use any other move, Alex couldn't help but hold his head with a helpless expression. Alex thought with a confused expression, what's so great about biting other Pokémon? I don't think it's pleasant to bite someone, especially not for the taste buds. Single quote. He began to think, with a thoughtful expression, is that one characteristic of the Dano species? At least I read that it tends to bite everything after it's born. Although later it should have less of the urge to want to bite everything, even if it did not say exactly when that is the case. It is probably always different. I hope it's just a phase and he won't do it much longer. Single quote. Alex stopped thinking about it after seeing Dano defeat his opponent. He went to Dano and gave him praise but also criticism on how he could do better. But he always said something positive at the end and generally used more praise than criticism to give Dano a positive experience overall. After 20 minutes, Alex and his group came to the edge of a relatively large river that is occupied by several living Pokémon. There were also several Pokémon drinking water on the edge of the great river. These Pokémon were very close to each other and very different in terms of strength or species, but none of these Pokémon showed aggressive behavior to each other. Alex could even see a level 38 Persian drinking quietly next to a level 15 Rattata without attacking this free food. These Pokémon shared this river without the strong Pokémon hunting the weak Pokémon, although there are several Pokémon species among them that also like to eat other Pokémon species. He remembers in his old world where animals often did that when they drank in a water source, even when they had the chance to hunt prey. Alex looked at the information of every Pokémon he could see, and after confirming that there was nothing interesting for him to see, he moved on. His next target is on a similar route to this large river, so that Alex walked along the edge of this large river when he occasionally looked at the information from the swimming Pokémon. Alex walked this large river for more than 30 minutes along, without being attacked by a Pokémon, but also without having seen a Pokémon that had better talent than Deep Bronze. He and his Pokémon started to get closer to the next place with a large Arbok and Ekans group after they stopped walking along the river and went to the marked spot that should be close to his current location. Crobat and Gardevoir, who informed Alex the whole time about Pokémon position and strength, suddenly said a slightly different thing to him. Gardevoir, who can perceive the approximate strength with her psychic powers, tells Alex about one Pokémon less within 500 meters than Crobat had Alex told. Alex showed a serious expression when he experienced such a situation for the first time. Crobat's expression also got more serious when he said, "The Pokémon is running fast in our direction." Gardevoir showed a confused expression and said that she did not perceive any Pokémon nearby. Alex could only explain the matter so that a strong psychic-type Pokemon fooled the perception of Gardevoir. Quick, start the reinforce plan. He let all his Pokemon strengthen at least once before this strong opponent came. Alex was able to find out from Crobat that this strong Pokemon was running, so Alex didn't worry that it couldn't get out when it gets too dangerous. Only a flying psychic type could be dangerous for his group, but a psychic type that did not have the speed of Crobat and that can't fly was not a big problem. Alex and his Pokemon would be able to escape at least if the Pokemon is too strong. When the Pokemon was only 100 meters away from Alex's group, Gardevoir suddenly felt the presence of this psychic-type Pokemon which she could not perceive before. Gardevoir showed a slightly concerned expression after she had perceived the energy of the psychic-type Pokemon. Chapter 298. Gardevoir felt the energy of this psychic-type Pokemon and realized that even if all of them fought together against this monster, they maybe didn't surely win. Alex looked in the direction where Gardevoir was looking, and after 3 seconds he suddenly saw a Hypno as it ran past a large bush. He immediately looked at the information about this Pokemon. Pokemon. Hypno. LV. 54. Type. Psychic. Abilities. Forewarn. Gender. Male. Potential. Shallow Gold. Moves. Pound. Disable. Confusion. Headbutt. Poison Gas. Meditate. Psych Up. Synchronize. Zen Headbutt. Swagger. Psychic. Nasty Plot. Innate Talent Hypnosis M. Innate Talent Dream Eater M. Innate Talent Psybeam E. Alex's expression got very serious when he saw the information from this monster, but he hardly had time to process this information properly before Gardevoir warned the whole group with a serious expression. Watch out, he's collecting some psychic energy from his body. Alex, who heard this, suddenly had a bad feeling. He started to look at the floor when he said quickly looked somewhere else and not. But when Alex warned his Pokemon, Hypno had already finished preparing his move. Hypno was using the move Hypnosis, and all of Alex's Pokemon except Umbreon fell asleep on the ground. Although moves like Hypnosis also work against Dark-type Pokemon, they are weakened against Dark-type Pokemon so that it is much more difficult to make such a Pokemon fall asleep successfully. Dano was only sent to sleep by this move because the difference in strength between him and Hypno was too great for his advantageous Dark-type to prevent that. Alex, who looked at the ground, felt that the psychic energy in his surroundings had disappeared, so that he turned his gaze back to his sleeping Pokemon and Hypno. When he saw that only Umbreon was awake, his face became tense. He knew exactly how the move Hypnosis worked in this world, but he hadn't thought that this move on the Master rank would be so ridiculous. Hypnosis has a lot of restrictions on the normal and on the expert rank, similar to moves like Destiny Bond or Disable, so it is extremely difficult to use this move efficiently even if it is very strong. And even on the Master rank, it has several restrictions that strongly limit this move. Even if Hypnosis is on the Master rank, Hypno cannot use this move effectively against Pokemon that are of a higher level than him. At least not with such a high probability of success as against Pokemon with the same or lower level than Hypno. In addition, the effectiveness of Hypnosis can be greatly reduced if the target hit is not looking at Hypno. Apart from the fact that the attack range also influences the effectiveness of the move Hypnosis, so that this move is not impossible to dodge. Although the effectiveness of Hypnosis increases when the target looked at the pendulum of Hypno, this bonus was not even necessary to let all of Alex's non-dark type Pokemon fall asleep due to the big difference in level. The big difference in level, together with the move mastery of Hypnosis, ensures that all Pokemon except Umbreon fell asleep even if they only look at Hypno. Hypno, who was 50 yards from Alex's group, looked happy as he saw that almost all of his targets were now helpless against him. Alex didn't have time to worry about the arrogant attitude from this Hypno when he started calling Vulpix, Bayonet, and Dano back to their Pokeballs. Each of these Pokemon would not survive a real attack by Hypno even with the help of their life energy, so that he wants to bring them directly to safety. Apart from the fact that they are not useful in this fight and except to tank an attack and die in the process. Even in this bad position, Alex wasn't ready to lose even one of his Pokemon. Alex then looked at his other sleeping Pokemon and he estimated that it would make more sense to call the rest of his Pokemon back to their Pokeballs and let them wake up there. Especially when he remembers what this Hypno could use. He didn't want to find out how much harm a Dream Eater on the Master rank can do to his Pokemon. Alex quickly called all his Pokemon back to their Pokeballs except Umbreon, as he continued to look at Hypno to see what it was doing. He also uses a lot of his psychic energy to be able to better perceive the psychic energy in the area around Hypno, so that he can react to it when this Hypno tries again to use hypnosis to make himself fall asleep. Hypno, who filled that the fight is already over, started running in the direction of Umbreon with a grin. The Hypno species is not very fast, but because of its high level, it was almost as fast as Crobat. Alex reacted quickly when he saw this. Keep your distance from Hypno. Try to hold out as long as possible. Umbreon showed no expression of fear while she watched as Hypno, who is a lot stronger than herself, ran towards her with a creepy smile. She only showed a cold expression, and the only thing that betrayed her emotions was her eyes, which had a wave of thick anger and bloodthirst in them. Umbreon had an extreme hatred towards this Hypno, who dared to attack her family, and the only reason why she is not attacking this Hypno directly is that she remembers Alex's words that such a thoughtless action could endanger the life of her family. She was able to suppress these strong feelings for the safety of her family. Alex, who felt the strongest threat to his life and the life of his family in his lifetime, noticed that his arms were shaking a bit, and he thought to himself, "Don't worry, this Hypno can't use a move on the expert rank that can harm Umbreon. We just have to hold on." Single quote. Although Alex knew that the situation is not as easy as he said, he managed to calm himself down a bit with this simplification of this situation. Alex knows that he doesn't have the liberty to panic. He devoted all his concentration to completely diffuse this danger while he tried to stop thinking about that danger. Chapter 299. Hypno ran in front of Umbreon and immediately started preparing a move without moving any further. Alex saw that and he immediately understood what the problem with Hypno was. Because there was no move above the normal rank that can be used against Umbreon, he had to use moves where he couldn't run at the same time. Alex started showing a small smile as he telepathically said, "Umbreon, kite him and prepare payback." Umbreon began to keep his distance from Hypno to prevent the Hypno from being immediately within reach with his normal rank moves. Hypno looked annoyed when he finished preparing the move Headbutt, but was more than 40 meters away from Umbreon. He started running quickly towards Umbreon to get in range to use his finished prepared move. Umbreon started running away to delay even more time, even if she is a good deal slower than Hypno. It only took Hypno a few moments to catch up with Umbreon, and after he was only a meter away from Umbreon he used the move Headbutt. Umbreon was hit and suffered a large head wound after that hit, but she didn't show any expression of pain after the hit and used almost immediately Payback to hit Hypno. Hypno was hit by Payback but only sustained little damage and showed only a despised look at this attack. Alex saw the state of the two Pokemon and knew that Umbreon had suffered a lot of damage from this hit. He would estimate 40% or even more of Umbreon's HP disappeared after that hit, even though the Hypno had used such an inefficient move. Alex thought with a serious expression, "Fortunately, the bodies of wild Pokemon are much weaker than Pokemon of trainers, or Umbreon would even have a problem withstanding 2 attacks from this Hypno. If Hypno's Headbutt were on the master rank, Umbreon would have been knocked out with 1 hit, with no chance of a counterblow." In comparison, Hypno looked as if he had hardly been harmed, even though he had to endure the strongest attack from Umbreon. Alex saw this but showed a calm expression. He felt that the damage from Hypno was still okay and even a little less than he expected. He said telepathically to Umbreon, "Use Work Up and then get ready to use Protect to block his attack. At the same time, keep your distance to delay even more time." Alex takes full advantage of the fact that Hypno can only move on the normal rank. Hypno saw Umbreon start running away from him again as she prepared for a move and began to look annoyed. He understood that he had to quickly defeat this human and this Pokemon, or the other Pokemon will soon wake up. Hypno knows from experience that if Hypnosis is used twice against that same opponent in a short time, the move Hypnosis becomes more difficult to work. He knew that Hypnosis had this big problem when fights last too long, and that's why he wants to end this fight quickly. The level difference between Hypno and most of Alex's Pokemon is not big enough to compensate for this disadvantage, so that it is unlikely that Hypno can send all of Alex's Pokemon to sleep again. Hypno stopped smiling when it noticed that its situation was getting worse and worse after every second, but when it looked at Alex, who was more than 50 meters away, it started to smile again. It immediately started running towards Alex while assembling his psychic energy from its body. Alex saw Hypno using a move and running at the same time, and he understood almost immediately what this Hypno wanted to do. He started collecting his psychic energy in his body and started preparing his energy shield. Umbreon saw this, and because she is closer to Alex than she was to Hypno, Umbreon began to block Hypno's path with her body. Hypno saw what Umbreon was trying to do, but only showed a look of contempt as he sped past Umbreon at his much faster speed. Umbreon tried desperately to stop Hypno with her body but was not nearly fast or strong enough to block Hypno from running past her. Hypno, who now had a completely clear line of fire, immediately used Psybeam. Psybeam was extremely fast and Alex just managed to use his energy shield that he had already prepared. At the same time, he made his body as small as possible and used his arms as a shield to protect his head and upper body. Alex, who tried to avoid that Psybeam, couldn't make it when Psybeam moved a bit downwards like a steering rocker and hit him even though he had made himself so small. Energy shield caught the hit before Alex's body was hit, but even after Alex put all his psychic energy into this energy shield, it couldn't block the whole hit. Although most of the strength of Psybeam was blocked, the rest of that Psybeam hit Alex, who has used his arms to protect his head and upper body. Alex's body was sent flying like a kicked ball, and only after it rolled over the ground for more than 20 meters did Alex's body stop. Although the bodies of people in this world are much better than in Alex's old world, Alex's body was almost completely broken after this hit. Both of his arms were completely broken and looked as if they had been hit by an enormous hammer. In addition, Alex had a large head wound that was bleeding, and together with the many wounds all over his upper body, Alex's body was stained with a lot of blood. Alex survived this hit but was knocked unconscious because of his head wound. Umbreon, who saw Alex not standing up or even moving, felt an indescribable pain. Umbreon's face shows an expression of despair. She started crying and looking at Hypno with a look of pure hatred. Hypno looked at Umbreon and just showed an indifferent expression. When Umbreon wanted to run in the direction of Hypno, suddenly saw two Pokemon coming from Alex's Pokeballs. Gardevoir and Scizor woke up and immediately left their Pokeballs after seeing Alex's body. Scizor's expression was extremely cold and he immediately started running in the direction of Hypno. Gardevoir's expression was full of concern and only got easier after seeing Alex's life wasn't in danger. After knowing that, she started looking in the direction of Hypno with an extremely cold expression. Words couldn't describe how much Gardevoir hated this Hypno. Chapter 300. While Gardevoir looked at Hypno, she suddenly noticed a large group of Pokemon running in this direction. She didn't know why such a large group of Pokemon suddenly ran in this direction, but she had a bad feeling when she saw Hypno's relaxed expression. Especially because there are more than 10 elite-level Pokemon in this group. Even if almost none of these elite Pokemon had higher energy than her and, according to Gardevoir's assessment, are only between levels 40 and 45, this group should not be underestimated. Also in this group was a Pokemon with higher energy than her, which only made the situation worse. According to Gardevoir's estimation, this Pokemon has a level around 52 or 53 and is only a bit weaker than Hypno. Scizor didn't know anything about it and began to fight Hypno together with Umbreon. Hypno uses Psybeam against Scizor and, despite the ineffectiveness, inflicts a lot of damage on him. Scizor loses almost 50% of his HP from this one move, although he normally doesn't take much damage against Psychic-type moves. But he still showed an indifferent expression and used the move X-Scissor that he had prepared. Umbreon used Toxic to do permanent damage to Hypno, but noticed that after it hits Hypno, that he had an indifferent expression after Hypno was hit by Toxic. It looked like Toxic against it was almost completely useless and couldn't produce its full potency. Umbreon wished at this moment that she had trained Toxic on the expert rank so that its effectiveness is at least not so restricted and that she was a poison-type Pokemon to be able to use this move more effectively. Gardevoir saw that the situation was getting worse and worse and said telepathically to Scizor and Umbreon, "We don't have time for it. A group of many elite Pokemon is coming in our direction and I have a suspicion that they have something to do with this Hypno. Coming to me and I will teleport us away before he builds up a field that prevents that." Quote, she knew that this field couldn't be easily set up and even needed half a minute of pure concentration from the Psychic-type Pokemon who wanted to use this ability. The problem is that once Hypno has created this field, Gardevoir can only use Teleport if she is on a higher level than Hypno or is no longer close to Hypno. Gardevoir used the whole time to talk to Scizor and Umbreon and to convince them not to keep fighting. Father is still alive and we. Scizor and Umbreon calmed down after hearing these words from Gardevoir and stopped struggling with the Hypno. Although they were still extremely angry with this Hypno, both knew that Hypno plus more elite Pokemon is not something they have a chance at, even if the rest of them woke up. As long as Alex was still alive and there is still hope to save him, they can get revenge later. Hypno saw the Umbreon and Scizor running in the direction of Gardevoir. He thought that these Pokemon ran away after seeing his strength and showed a small smile. With his psychic powers, he has already called his group of subordinates and called his life partner, after he had noticed Alex's group for the first time. Hypno didn't call them because he thought he needed help in this fight, but because he wanted his subordinates and his life partner to pick up their food themselves after that fight. Unfortunately, this group had a dark-type Pokemon with good strength, so his plan didn't work out. Hypno was not chasing Scizor or Umbreon but was preparing Disable to maybe prevent their escape. But when he was almost finished, Umbreon and Scizor were already before Gardevoir and they teleported away from this place. Hypno looked with a slightly disappointed expression as he cancelled his Disable and saw a large group of Arbok approaching him. Gardevoir, who wanted to use Teleport quickly, did not teleport very far from the place where they were fighting against this Hypno. Alex and his Pokemon were back at the large river and only a few kilometers away from Hypno. Scizor and Umbreon immediately went next to Alex and formed a protective circle to prevent surprise attacks from other Pokemon. Although this area is relatively peaceful, neither of them wanted to take a risk. Crobat woke up and left his Pokeball looking confused and angry. He didn't understand why his trainer suddenly lay on the floor with several large blood wounds or why they were back at this large river. Umbreon and Scizor didn't explain anything but used their full attention to protect Alex. Gardevoir immediately started preparing a healing move and immediately used it on Alex after he finished. She was using Heal Pulse and Alex started to heal visibly. Alex's body stopped bleeding and his arms no longer looked like they were completely broken. In addition, his head wound was visibly healed after a few seconds. Gardevoir gave a relieved expression and began to tell Crobat what happened while she told him that they should coordinate with each other if this Hypno is coming their way. For example, if Crobat can perceive a Pokemon more than she can, both of them know that this Pokemon is Hypno and have enough time to react to this situation. But for that to work, Gardevoir and Crobat must coordinate the whole time, so the Gardevoir explains in one sentence what happened in order not to lose much time. While Gardevoir and Crobat verify whether they are being chased, Alex's Pokemon start waking up one after the other. During this time nothing happens and several minutes passed very peacefully. Umbreon told the other Pokemon what happened and every Pokemon from Alex had an angry expression when she talked about this Hypno. The hatred for this Pokemon in Alex's group reached an unimaginable extent. Alex woke up after a few more minutes with a big headache and a confused expression. He looked at the faces of his Pokemon, all of which had worried expressions, and Alex showed a smile, to not let his family worry, even if he still felt pain in his arms and head. Alex tried to show a relaxed expression when he said to his Pokemon, "Don't make all so a face. I'm perfectly fine." Then he looked around and saw that he was back at that big river. With the corner of his eyes, he suddenly saw the information from a Pokemon in this river and he showed a surprised expression. Pokemon. Horsey. LV. 19. Type. Water. Abilities. Sniper. Gender. Male. Potential. Shallow Gold. Move. Bubble. Smokescreen. Leer. Water Gun. Twister. Innate talent Clear Smog. Innate talent Focus Energy. Innate talent Outrage.